66 million years ago, something was hunting you. It may not have seen you yet. It may not have heard you over the wind, but it already knew exactly where you were. Not because it saw you, because it smelled you. But here is the part that surprised even the scientists. The most powerful predator in Earth's history, an animal built for pure destruction, may not have been built primarily for sight at all. It may have been built first and foremost for smell. And understanding why evolution made that choice changes everything you think you know about this animal. A team of scientists took a 66 million-year-old T-Rex skull and put it inside a CT scanner. They rebuilt its brain digitally in 3 dimensions. And inside that digital brain, they found something that stopped them. By the end of this video, you will never picture T-Rex the same way again. Because T-Rex was not primarily a creature of muscle and teeth. It was first and foremost a creature of smell. And what that actually means is more terrifying than anything in the movies. There is a fundamental problem with studying dinosaur biology. Brains don't fossilize. Muscle, organs, soft tissue, everything that made T-Rex alive rotted away 66 million years ago. What survived in the rock is bone, that's it. So for most of paleontology's history, questions about how dinosaurs actually experienced the world, what they sensed, what they thought were unanswerable. Here is the thing about bone that changes everything. The brain of a living animal doesn't float freely inside the skull. It presses against it, grows against it. Over millions of years, it leaves an impression like a hand pressed into wet clay. Scientists call this an endocast, the ghost of a brain, a 3-dimensional negative space shaped exactly by the organ that once lived there. For decades, researchers would physically fill skull cavities with rubber to get a rough shape. It worked, but it risked damaging fossils that took 66 million years to form. CT scanning changed everything. Fire X-rays through an object from hundreds of angles. A computer assembles every slice into a complete 3D picture. No cutting, no touching, no risk. The first researcher to do this for T-Rex was Christopher Brauchou in the year 2000, scanning the most famous T-Rex fossil ever found, a specimen named Sue at the Field Museum in Chicago. What Brauchou found, and what subsequent researchers confirmed, was that one region of the T-Rex brain was dramatically, abnormally, unexpectedly large. The olfactory bulbs, the smell processors. And here is something almost no other video will tell you. The first measurements were actually wrong. Not an error, but what looked like massive olfactory bulbs in early scans partly included the nasal cavity itself, not brain tissue. It took nearly a decade for the field to separate brain from nose in the reconstruction. And even after the correction, the olfactory bulbs of T-Rex were still exceptional. The correction didn't weaken the discovery, it strengthened it because now it was precise. A T-Rex did the opposite. Where your brain suppresses smell to focus on vision, T-Rex's brain amplified it, prioritized it, built its entire hunting life around it. Smell is the oldest sense. The oldest brains ever built, hundreds of millions of years ago, were built for chemistry first. Before animals could really see the world, they were already detecting it. Single-celled organisms following chemical gradients in ancient seas, finding food, avoiding danger through smell. Every sense that came after, vision, hearing, touch, was built on top of that original chemical detection system. In your brain right now, the olfactory system connects more directly to memory and emotion than any other sense. Scent bypasses relay stations, goes almost straight to the ancient parts. This is why a smell can bring back a memory 20 years old more vividly than a photograph. At the front of every vertebrate brain sit 2 lobes called the olfactory bulbs, the first processing station for smell. In living animals, the size of these bulbs relative to the rest of the brain predicts olfactory ability with remarkable accuracy. Bloodhounds have olfactory bulbs that dominate their brain volume. A trained bloodhound can follow a scent trail 4 days old, detect a person hidden in a car trunk through metal and padding, track a single person through a crowd of thousands. Turkey vultures detect the chemical gases from a hidden carcass from kilometers away, through forest canopy invisible from the air. Humans, olfactory bulbs around 0.01% of total brain volume. Turkey vultures closer to 30%. T-Rex comparable to the vultures or better. The lead researcher was Darla Zelenitsky at the University of Calgary. Her team CT scanned multiple theropod skulls, not just T-Rex, and measured olfactory bulbs against total brain size with precision. Then compared those ratios to living animals using the same statistical methods that work for birds and mammals today. Published in Proceedings of the Royal Society B. Among all theropods studied, the Tyrannosaurs had the largest olfactory bulbs relative to brain size. Not slightly larger, significantly larger, and the modern equivalent, the animals with matching ratios, were turkey vultures, birds documented to find hidden carcasses from kilometers away using smell alone. A decade later, researchers at University College Dublin projected olfactory receptor gene counts for dinosaurs, using a mathematical model built from living birds and crocodilians. Their estimate for T-Rex. The nasal cavity of a T-Rex was large enough, nearly 5 feet of skull, to house an olfactory surface closer in scale to the dog end of that range. Not the human end. This animal weighed 9 tons. And its nose was in the same league as the best-smelling animal alive today. Let that sit for a second. Imagine standing on a hill with your eyes closed. Somewhere in the forest below, a deer died 2 hours ago. You can't see it, you can't hear anything. But every gust of wind carries a faint chemical signal, molecules of decay drifting through the air. Now imagine your brain is built to read that signal like a compass. To track it, to move toward increasing concentration, to navigate by chemistry the way you navigate by sight. That is roughly what a Tyrannosaur's world may have been like. Let me make that real. An animal dies somewhere in the Hell Creek ecosystem. Within hours, bacteria begin breaking down tissue. They release sulfur compounds, ammonia, volatile fatty acids, the molecular signature of death. Those molecules are lighter than air. They rise, they enter the wind. Depending on wind speed they travel, 1 kilometer, 2 more. Somewhere downwind, a T-Rex lifts its head. It does not see the carcass, there is terrain between them. It does not hear it, there is nothing to hear. But its nose is reading the wind like a map. Moving toward increasing concentration, adjusting with every step, narrowing the gradient. This is documented behavior in vultures, in wolves, in crocodilians. It is almost certainly what T-Rex was doing. You might expect the best noses to belong to the biggest killers, and you'd be partly right. Allosaurus, the dominant predator 150 million years ago, 80 million years before T-Rex evolved, already had enlarged olfactory bulbs. Smell was a hunting tool deep in theropod history. This wasn't a T-Rex invention. It was an ancient inheritance. Troodon, small, bird-like, with the largest brain-to-body ratio of any known dinosaur, combined high general intelligence with developed olfactory apparatus. And Tyrannosaur itself, 620 to 645 projected receptor genes, a nose comparable to a modern cat, in an animal the size of a city bus. In 2023, a team at the Smithsonian published CT scan results for a dinosaur called the Celosaurus. You probably don't know that name, it isn't famous, it isn't dramatic. It is a plant-eating ornithopod, modest, unremarkable to look at. Its olfactory bulbs, relative to brain size, were larger than any other dinosaur currently in the scientific record. Larger than T-Rex. Larger than any tyrannosaur. Why would a plant-eater need a better nose than the apex predator? Researchers believe it used smell to find buried food, roots, tubers, and, critically, to detect predators approaching through dense vegetation before they could be seen. The best nose in the Cretaceous may have belonged to the prey. The Cretaceous wasn't a world of predators with senses and prey without them. It was an arms race of noses. And the prey were winning at least one category. We do not have a direct measurement of T-Rex's detection range. What we have is structural and comparative evidence. Olfactory bulbs occupying unusually large brain proportion. Nasal passages built for high-volume airflow. Projected gene count comparable to animals with acute smell. Anatomical similarity to animals using long-range scent detection. The evidence is strong and consistent. The precise distance numbers are projections, not measurements. This is how good science works, and it's more interesting than a headline. Paleontologist Jack Horner famously argued T-Rex was primarily a scavenger, its enormous olfactory system being key evidence. Vultures, after all, are the defining smell-reliant scavengers. Today, most paleontologists agree T-Rex was both hunter and scavenger. Active predator when opportunity arose, opportunistic scavenger when it didn't. Exactly like modern lions, hyenas, large crocodilians. And for that profile, a nose of this power is the perfect instrument for both. This bird is doing today what tyrannosaurs likely did 66 million years ago. The behavior didn't disappear, it survived, in a different body with a different name. Nature found the design so effective it kept it. About 400 olfactory receptor genes, million scent receptors in the nose. We can identify thousands of scents, but our range is limited. We are primarily visual animals. We can smell a gas leak in the house. We cannot smell a deer that passed 40 minutes ago. 800 receptor genes, million scent receptors. A trained bloodhound follows a 4-day-old scent trail through weather changes, locates a person submerged in a vehicle through water and metal by detecting gases at the surface. Dogs don't just smell more, they smell differently, detecting molecules we cannot perceive at all. In controlled experiments, detects ethyl mercaptan, the primary decay gas, at parts per trillion concentration. Locates carcasses hidden under forest canopy from multiple kilometers, proven, measured. Olfactory bulbs occupying a disproportionate share of neural tissue, a nasal cavity nearly 5 feet long, built for enormous airflow. Structural anatomy comparable to vultures, head carried 12 feet off the ground. Every breath was a radar sweep. This animal did not primarily see its world. It smelled it. The landscape it moved through was layered in chemical information. Where prey had been hours ago, where water was, where rivals had marked territory, where something had died 3 miles downwind. It was reading a map we cannot perceive. We walk through those same rivers of chemical information every day. Every street, every room, every person who passed before you left a chemical trail. We just can't read it. T-Rex could. It is 66 million years ago. Western North America, the Hell Creek ecosystem, what will one day become Montana. The air is warm, humid, dense with pollen from early flowering plants that have only recently diversified, resin from conifers, fungal decay of fallen trees, river mud in afternoon heat. If you could stand here, the smell alone would be overwhelming, a tropical richness your modern nose has never encountered. A herd of Edmontosaurus moved through this corridor hours ago. Their bodies left a trail of chemical information. Sweat and glandular secretions, the stress chemicals in their waste, disturbed vegetation releasing terpenes. Those molecules are still present in the air, degrading slowly, still readable. 2 miles away, something lifts its head into the breeze. The wind shifts slightly. The signal becomes stronger. The animal turns its head 10 degrees to the left. Concentration increases again. It begins walking. Not guessing, not searching randomly. Navigating. Smell was not T-Rex's only exceptional sense. Its cerebral hemispheres were enlarged, suggesting complex processing, decision-making, possibly social behavior. Its inner ear showed traits for enhanced stabilization, holding its head perfectly still while the body moved, locking a target in visual focus. Its hearing was tuned toward low frequencies, the sounds that travel farthest through dense vegetation. And recent research confirms T-Rex almost certainly had lips, which would have changed how it processed air through its nasal system. This was not an animal that stumbled through the landscape and occasionally found things. It was a sensory engine built for a specific ecological role, and it dominated that role for 3 million years. Question 1. How powerful was T-Rex's sense of smell? Powerful enough that it may have navigated its world primarily by chemistry. Comparable in projected gene count and anatomical structure to the most smell-reliant animals alive today. In an animal 9 tons in weight with a skull 5 feet long. Question 2. Why did evolution make the apex predator smell-driven instead of vision-driven? Because in the Hell Creek ecosystem, dense vegetation, broken terrain, prey moving in herds, smell was often more useful than sight. Vision requires line of sight. Smell travels around ridges through forests across terrain. It works even when your prey is somewhere you cannot see. Evolution built the perfect predator for that world. We spent 100 years imagining T-Rex as pure muscle. The animal that sees you and charges. The science tells a different story. This animal was, first and foremost, a creature of chemical perception. One that may have been tracking you, reading your scent trail, long before it ever came into view. And the strangest part. Smell is the oldest sense, the first sense that ever evolved. T-Rex, 66 million years gone, was still primarily organized around that ancient, original way of reading the world. Scientists put a skull in a scanner. They found a nose. And the nose told them everything. In the age of dinosaurs, the wind itself carried the map.